The missing part of our core work tends to be the hamstrings. Hamstrings get left out and not really thought of as core, right? Abdominals tend to be thought of as core, and the abdominals do kind of help neutralize the pelvis out of anterior tilt. But the hamstrings are the other side of that, right? There's some glutes there as well, but the hamstrings help neutralize the pelvis from anterior tilt. This isn't a bad place to move. All parts of motion through the pelvis are good to be able to move into, but we also want to be able to move out and not be stuck in any position. So if you do have one side or both sides that notice front of the pelvis is tilted forward, maybe you feel lack of space in the front of the hip, try out this little hip hover. It's basically a short bridge, or a small bridge, with feet hips width distance, heels close towards the hips. It doesn't have to be uncomfortably close, but more than a long position here, we are going a bit shorter. Right, as you breathe in, feel the rib cage expand into the floor, out to the side, and exhale, feel the ribs drop in and down. Right, already you'll probably notice the pelvis feels more neutral as the abs are turned on, but now you're going to start to press into the heels. Feel the sits bones, right, the very base of the pelvis, and you're going to visualize the sits bones zipping up towards the backs of the knees, and that is going to initiate a small lift of your hips. Right, so again, visualizing the sits bones, feeling the sits bones, and this line of connection to the backs of the knees. That's the pathway of your hamstrings. Right, as you find that hip hover, again, feel the drive of the heels down, but also connected to big toe mound, pinky toe mound. And my hips are very high off of the floor, just an inch or two. I'm more concerned about the connection and the sensation that I'm finding through the backs of the legs, especially high around the sits bones. Right, if I'm feeling pretty good here, I might start to think of shortening this line between sits bones and backs of the knees, and that might add a little bit more lift to the hips. Right, lift to the hips isn't this way, that's lifting through the back, keeping everything else not involved and just thinking of that sits bone to knee connection. Right, once you've felt enough sensation or have started to fatigue, you can let it go, take some motion to release the intensity. Maybe that's extending the legs. If you want to amp it up a little bit more, give more feedback to the body, find a foam roller and place it underneath the feet. A Bosu ball or something that's a more unstable surface is just going to add a bit more feedback and work here. So it doesn't have to be a foam roller. Once you've found even footing, I'm going to slowly start to exhale. Feel the sits bone connection to the backs of the knees, that same process, and then initiate that small hover. Sometimes that smaller range of motion can be a harder place to be. We don't linger there as long. We tend to push towards the end, so it can be a great place to stay for a bit, right? Noticing if one side of the pelvis wants to tilt forward more than the other, trying to equalize the sensation between sides, although it'll probably be different. And then maybe you think of that line shortening a bit more and the hips lifting a bit more. But you might actually find that a lower range, you get more work, more sensation and connection around the sits bones. Right? Noticing also if pressure is more in the inner or the outer heel, trying to find equal pressure between. Right? One more breath in, and then exhale. Try to keep the sits bones reaching to the backs of the knees even as you lower the hips down, and then again letting it go, whatever makes sense. All right, so you can stay with that, either feet grounded or feet on that foam roller. If you feel like you can ramp it up, you're gonna find that same sits bone scoop, a small bridge or a higher one, and then you'll press so much into your left foot, inner, outer side of the foot, that the right leg floats off. Right there, notice if you lose the pelvis, if you lose that sits bone to back and knee connection, and then set it down, and then switch it to the other side again. You might notice the pelvis wants to tilt. Try to keep that connection moving to the back of the knee. Right, you can take that side to side. Foam roller is going to add a stability challenge, but you might get the connection quicker. But you can also totally do this fully grounded on the floor. right? So you can march side to side, or you can stay and hover with one. But the key here is to not let the pelvis shift as you shift one foot up and the other. Not only not a shift side to side, but forward and back, losing that connection we're trying to build. Moving really slow so you can maintain that.